Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 87. As Goku tried to convince 17 to join the tournament with the appeal of the Super Dragon Balls, a spaceship suddenly shows up in the sky and kidnaps all the animals from the island. They're space poachers. 17 and Goku team up to stop them, and the poachers obviously stand no chance against them. But when the captain threatens to blow himself up along with all the animals, 17 attempts to sacrifice himself to stop him, only being saved by Goku teleporting them both away in time. As the animals are freed, 17 decides to join the tournament, deciding that he owes Goku something, and if they win, he's going to use the Super Dragon Balls to get a cruise ship for his family. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, I did once again enjoy kind of 17's almost sort of like relative sort of moral ambiguity compared to everyone else. I mean, obviously he still kind of cares about sort of doing the right thing. He cares about the animals. When the space poachers show up, he like immediately goes up to the spaceship and does everything he can to save them. But what I enjoy about watching 17 do that is he's a lot more subdued. He's not really trying to present himself as this big, upstanding defender of justice. He's more just doing it because he personally thinks the space poachers piss him off and he likes the animals, so he's going to save them. He's not really getting all big and emotional and dramatic about it, and I think it really makes him kind of stand out from everyone else. I also liked the little speech that Goku gives 17 after 17 just sort of calls him like the savior of the world. And Goku's just like, I never really thought of it like that. I've just sort of gone this far because I want to fight strong guys. I don't like seeing innocent people get hurt and stuff, but, I never really thought I was like, a hero or a savior or anything like this big thing that everyone sort of thinks that I am. It might be a little on the nose for some people, but I did enjoy it because especially it's like that is essentially what Goku's character is. It's especially like, what Toriyama has said and what a whole bunch of people have said. So it's like, it's nice to know, especially when other people were complaining about whether they've gotten Goku's characterization wrong or whatever. At the very least, this episode clearly shows they do understand what the essence of his character is. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, besides the fact that space poachers is a very unoriginal idea as to what you're going to do to have 17 fight. It's like, what else are you going to do? He's a park ranger, let's have poachers, but they're in space, so it's like more of a big deal. But besides that, I didn't really feel like there was a big sort of like underlying obvious kind of connection between the events that actually happened in this episode with the space poachers and 17's final revelation that he decides he is going to fight in the tournament. Or at the very least, I feel like they could have handled it in a different way that would have been a bit more interesting. Last episode, the reason why 17 said he wasn't going to go into the tournament was because he thought there was kind of no point fighting something where the fate of everyone is kind of almost already decided, and it's like, he sort of just kind of go with the flow. He's so relaxed, he's not really thinking he's going to fight against his fate, because if that's their fate, then there's nothing he can do about it. The thing is, there's no real kind of connection between that and space poachers and the space poacher guy trying to blow himself up and then Goku saving them and then 17 feeling indebted to that and deciding to join the tournament. It's like 17 refused for one reason, but now he's joining for some completely different reasons, including wanting the Super Dragon Balls, which kind of had nothing to do with what was going on last episode. It doesn't really feel like 17 kind of had to go through any sort of development or change or anything. It's more just like he kind of found a different reason as to why he would fight in the tournament, as opposed to just sort of realizing that the reason why he didn't want to join the tournament wasn't really a valid excuse. Because really, you could have sort of made a connection between like those two episodes. Like, when the space poachers are going and kidnapping all the animals and then 17 jumps in to save them, you could have just had Goku sort of ironically sort of comment, but oh, you're going to save them, but I thought that's just the way things are and there's no point in fighting it. And then by 17 realizing that, and realizing that no, despite that, he still wants to go and save the animals, he's sort of realizing, okay, maybe the Tournament of Power is kind of the exact same case. Basically, didn't feel like 17 or Goku had to learn anything in particular for this problem to be resolved and for 17 to join. Kind of just felt like 17 said no, and then completely unrelated events happened, and then 17 decides to say yes. Pretty much not even really because of those actions, rather just because he found out some other information. And I just don't find that as compelling, basically. So, as for next episode, well, you know how Gohan is training with Piccolo again? For the first time in Super, we're probably going to see this for more than about 2 minutes. Piccolo is trying to get Gohan strong enough for the tournament, and for the first time, I think in Super, they've decided that is actually important enough to warrant pretty much an entire episode. This is something that Dragon Ball Super has not done for a very long time, and that's like legitimately giving an actual training sequence for a character, explaining what they're doing for the training, what the training's entailing, and if they're actually going to get any stronger because of it. And to that, all I need to say is to Toei, please don't screw this up. You can only do a Gohan comeback once in this series, and I still believe you can make it work and not have it just be completely stupid, gratuitous fan service if you really know what you're doing. The problem is if you do make a dumb, gratuitous fan service and you don't execute it well to the point that no one really likes it, it's basically the nailing point of the coffin for Gohan's last chance of having at least some opportunity to have some kind of major role in this franchise. So there's actually kind of a lot riding on this episode, at least for me, in terms of a specific character actually being able to do something that's actually pretty important, because he's one of the few characters where you could actually do that, because he has been important before in the series. So basically, I've got my fingers crossed that this next episode will be good, because if it's not, that's going to be kind of annoying, because for once it's going to ruin an idea that I thought was actually good in the first place. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 87. Honestly, not the biggest fan of this episode. On its own, it was completely inoffensive, and honestly, I think that's probably the biggest problem with it. This felt like this was supposed to be the episode where Android 17 kind of realized he had the will to fight in the tournament, and they didn't really treat it like that. Honestly, they kind of just treated it a bit more like something you kind of see in the filler or GT, where you just have random aliens showing up and they just have a random episodic adventure when they beat those random aliens. I know it's not technically filler, but they almost treated the episode with the same level of quality of writing like it was filler, and it wasn't that important, and it didn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, even though, yeah, this was the episode that would be the deciding factor as to why 17 joined in the first place. It's kind of a little disappointing, honestly. It sort of made it feel like 17 coming back actually wasn't really so important in the first place. It was almost just something that was just like another filler episode in Dragon Ball Z, or another random episodic adventure in GT. At the end of the day, there was nothing really wrong with it, but there was nothing really like noteworthy about it either. And basically, I thought it was going to be noteworthy, which I think is why I was a little bit let down. Perhaps this was kind of my fault for expecting a little bit too much out of Dragon Ball Super, or something like that, but hopefully at least the next few episodes will be a little bit more interesting, and a little bit less like filler, and a little bit more like it feels like things are actually kind of really important. So this is Gabby signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!